I have kind of a big question. How do you know that vegan is the best solution to, make everything right?
I'm not understanding. How? Say it again.
How do you know that becoming vegan is the best solution?
Oh, because, listen, being a meat, cheese, milk, and egg eater causes the most massive amount of harm on this planet. Remember those numbers I talked about? 60 billion land animals, 90 billion marine animals. That is 150 billion land and marine animals that are killed just for food. I'm not even talking about the billions that are hunted and killed, the billions that are exploited and tortured in medical experiments. Circuses, rodeos, the fur industry, the leather industry. Nobody has suffered as much as the animals. And with veganism, we can not only give peace to the animal kingdom, we can heal the earth from all the environmental destruction. I also believe we can find world peace through veganism. Pythagoras, the great philosopher Pythagoras, most people don't realize, but he was a vegan. In fact, up until the mid-1800s, people who did not eat animals were actually called Pythagoreans. Pythagoras wrote 2,600 years ago that as long as humans continue to be the ruthless destroyer of other beings, we will never know health or peace. For as long as people massacre animals, they will kill each other, because those who sow the seed of murder and pain can never reap joy or love. What he's saying is something I said in my speech: peace begins at the dinner table. Think about this. If you teach a child growing up to respect the weakest, even most insignificant of beings in your eyes, you teach a child that a chicken, a mouse, a spider has a right to live on this planet. If there's a spider in the house, you don't roll up a newspaper and smash it, you get it cut. And you teach that child, he's got every right to live on this planet just like you. We don't want him in our house, we're just going to move him outside, so you catch him, you take him outside. If you teach this to children, when they grow up, how do they learn to hate different sizes, shapes, and colors of humans? Because that's what it comes down to, discriminatory factors. Speciesism, racism, sexism, it's all about somebody looking and acting differently. So with veganism, I think this can heal the earth.
But it's kind of naive to think that there is a perfect solution, because even with vegan, when you eat tofu or processed food, you eat and you hurt them.
Okay.
So there is one kind of hurts that's...
I'm not really understanding what you're saying. Are you asking?
You hurt them like tofu, for example. So this is good, but
How does tofu damage the earth?
Because first of all, to grow soil, you need to destroy some landscape.
Okay, I'm not sure if you were listening to the speech. 50% of the world's crops are set aside to feed 60 billion land animals and tens of billions of marine animals. There are only 7 billion people on this planet. I got a quote on my website from an animal agriculture group called the Council for Science and Technology. In the late 90s, they even said that with all the cropland just in America, we could feed the world twice over. One stipulation: everybody would have to be vegan. You actually use less land, cause less environmental destruction if you eat crops directly than if you raise all these crops and all this land, feed them back to the animals, and then eat the animals. It's not logical, proper behavior. Veganism is the answer, my friend. Other question? You go here? Oh, wait a minute.
You referred to freedom X. You said that they cannot be moral. It doesn't exist. Can you expand the speech about it?
I'm sorry, again, I'm not hearing.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
You said that there are no moral freedom X.
Okay.
X, yeah.
Yes.
Excuse me for the accent. Can you expand the speech about why it is not moral?
Sure. The only reason hens are around in factory farm facilities, a free-range facility, maybe even your backyard, is because that hen lays an egg. You have commodified the animal. You have turned that animal into an egg machine. Think about this. How come we don't eat turtle eggs or Canada geese eggs? And I understand somebody somewhere on this planet is probably doing it, but there's not a turtle egg industry. It's because the egg industry, thousands of years ago, chose the hen as its victim. Hens are not egg machines. Cows are not milk machines. That's not why they're here. When hens stop laying eggs at a free-range farm, you don't think they get to run around the farm anymore, do you? They gotta pay their way. And if you decided to have a hen in your backyard, I understand that hen would have a better life than a hen in the egg industry, but where did you get that hen? You had to buy the hen from a breeder. So now somebody's breeding these animals and selling these animals. Now we're down to slavery stuff again. And wild hens only lay 17 eggs per year. But hens in the egg industry lay around 300 eggs per year from genetic manipulation. So you have purchased a hen from a breeder that's been genetically modified. That's not why hens are here. Again, instead of looking for an excuse to eat animal products, find an excuse not to eat animal products. Find an excuse to be kind and compassionate. And let's not forget where eggs come from. Where do eggs come from? Somebody else's asshole. Since when is that food? Come on, people, can we be logical and rational? I mean, if I gave somebody in this crowd a plate of hummus, and I sneezed on it first, you guys would be like, oh, disgusting. But you want to eat something covered in shit sprinkles and urine splatter that came out of somebody else's ass. It is illogical, but that's the mind of an addict. Boy, an addict will always try to find an excuse to keep that addiction in place. Have you ever known a cigarette smoker to be rational when it came to cigarettes? How about an alcoholic rational when it came down to alcohol? Doesn't exist. And you know what I've never met in 2,400 lectures to 60,000 people? Never met a rational meat, cheese, milk, and egg eater when it came to animal issues. Veganism is the solution. Next question.
Gary, I'm sorry, I'm here in your right. I decided to talk, okay. I'm vegan, alright, and the only problem I find nowadays is going to the doctor and how can I get a medicine that is not tasted in animals, or if you get unconscious and you have to go to emergency and those things, that's what makes me a little...
Yeah, I don't know if it's possible to find something that hasn't been tested on an animal. It's not because it's valuable, not because it benefits you, because every drug on this planet has to go through some kind of rat research protocol, monkey research protocol, and things like that. So after 16 years of being vegan, though, there's no need to go see a doctor anyways. Okay, once you put the right things into your body, you now eliminate your risk for major diseases. I'm not saying something can't go wrong, because stress is a killer. In fact, stress is going to kill me and give me a heart attack one day from dealing with all the meat eaters all over the world. Okay, but I don't know if there's a way to do that. I don't find anybody guilty if you're forced into the situation. I'd maybe try to find some herbal remedies.
Yeah, sure, but my boyfriend and me were in India and he caught salmonella and you cannot do anything, you know, so just out of curiosity, what would you do?
It's a bad situation. I wouldn't put a medicine into my body. I'd let that stuff work its way through, the salmonella, all that stuff.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I have a question. What's your stance on the point of animals in research? Like scientific research that benefits mankind and maybe other animals in the future?
Yeah, it doesn't benefit humankind. Let me explain the unscientific fraud of vivisection. This might be a new word to people. I think people are familiar with the term dissection, working on dead animals. Vivisection is working on live animals. This is an unscientific procedure because anatomically, physiologically, histologically, dealing with cell structures, immunologically, each species is different from each other. You can't work on a mouse to help a cat, can't work on a monkey to help a horse, can't work on a pig to help some sheep, and you can't work on these animals to help humankind. Now, unfortunately, that's the way the system is set up. As I just talked about, you have to put the drugs into the animals, but it doesn't mean they're going to be successful and doesn't mean they're going to fail either. Every single year, hundreds or thousands of drugs are taken off the marketplace after they kill or harm human beings, even though they pass the animal research protocols. And think about how many drugs never made it to the human clinical research phase because they didn't pass the animal research protocols. So scientifically, it's an absolute fraud. You cannot take information from one species and make it relevant to another. Let me explain this maybe in a little simpler way. If you go to a veterinary school and you find some vets who are researching for a cure for feline leukemia, what animal do you think they use? Cats. If you find some vets researching for canine distemper, something that affects dogs, what do you think they use? They use dogs. They don't use mice for dogs and monkeys for cats. And if you ask them why, they'll say, why the hell would we use mice to help cats? Well, my response back is, I don't know why the hell would we use mice and monkeys to try to help human beings. And we have to focus on ethics. Remember, that was the reason I gave this speech tonight, ethics and morality. This is completely obscene, to take another living being and use that living being as your experimental subject without that being's consent. No dog at the Shriners Burn Institute in Cincinnati, Ohio, would volunteer to be dipped in kerosene while they were fully conscious and lit on fire for burn research. That's what goes on behind closed doors. None of the monkeys at the Missouri farm in Israel volunteer to have their heads opened up and electrodes attached to their brains to try to see what their brain waves are doing. These things are as obscene as Joseph Mengele's experiments on his unwilling participants, on Jews. But let's keep this in mind. In this day and age, you can't use Jews for medical experiments anymore. You can't use black prisoners in Tuskegee, Alabama anymore as research subjects. You can't use mentally retarded kids in New York City. That's what they did in the 1970s in Rochester, New York at their hospitals. You can't use these groups of people anymore, so what has the medical community done? Oh, they moved on to another group of beings that nobody seems to care about right now. Mice, and monkeys, cats, and dogs, and all the other animals. We have to oppose this on ethical grounds. Even though the medical community has very little ethics, to this day they refuse to look at Joseph Mengele's results from his experiments, even though his experiments scientifically are valid. Working on humans to see what happens to human beings is scientifically valid, but as we all know, it's obscene. I hope the medical community one day refuses to look at the animal research experiments as well. And just so you know, there are many ways to do real scientific research, especially in this day and age: cellular biology, molecular biology, biopsy research, autopsy research, computer models, mathematical models, case studies, trial and error methodology. And let's face it, we don't like to admit it, but everything pretty much is trial and error. You got to give it to somebody to see if it's going to work. And just so you know, there are groups throughout the world. In America, which is where I'm from, I'm going to tell you about two groups. There are groups of cancer patients that are begging for all the experimental drugs because they're withering away and dying while these researchers keep messing around with mice. In fact, I got a quote from Dr. Richard Klausner, who used to run the National Cancer Institute, a huge animal research facility. Klausner said that we've been curing mice of cancer for decades. It simply doesn't work in human beings. Then what's the point of doing it? And there are AIDS groups throughout California that are demanding all those experimental AIDS drugs. While they're dying, they keep working on mice and monkeys. Keep in mind, these animals don't even get our diseases. They get mutations of our diseases in a made-up setting. Stuff is simply not valid. Next question.
Yes, up here.
Yeah.
You draw a line which is totally artificial between several human activities, mostly eating, then other human activities which are basically kills billions of animals every year, like the cotton we wear or the paper we use for deforestation or CO. So can someone else call you or us murderers also?
Did I come here today and condemn you for using paper?
No.
Did I condemn you for driving a car? Did I?
No, but that's exactly
Okay.
the question.
No, that's not the question.
How can you draw the line?
Why would I condemn you for something that I'm doing? If you and I both use paper, if you and I both use a computer, if you and I both drive a car, but I'm vegan and you're not, who's causing less pain and suffering?
Okay, maybe, but...
No, not maybe. Okay.
We're both the murderers.
Okay, vegans cause the minimum amount of pain and suffering. By the way, this is really curious to me when people ask questions like this. How come if I came here tonight instead and I talked about the genocide in Darfur, in the Sudan, how come I'll bet my life you wouldn't ask me a question like that? How come the only time people bring up questions like this is when you talk about being kind to cows and chickens? You will do anything to avoid analyzing what the victims are going through. Why do seemingly rational people fly off the deep end and become irrational when you ask them to be nice to pigs and chickens and turkeys? Okay, I'm not even going to entertain this question because it's ridiculous. It's a diversionary tactic to avoid what cows are going through. Let me ask you this. After I told you about cows being raped and have their babies stolen from them, what are you going to do about that? Huh? Not buy milk? Give him a mic, please. What are you going to do about cows being raped and their babies being stolen from them?
I don't understand exactly the question.
All right, we can just move on. I was just trying to... I think everybody else understood what I was saying. Okay, let's focus on the question at hand.
I understand about the children in Sudan. That's exactly it. I mean, you take several human activities which are basically immorals, right? But you call each and every person who does that a murderer, and all other human activities which makes other people or other animals to suffer, they are good. I mean, what exactly, how can you exactly draw the line between this side or other side?
So, okay, dude. If I was fighting to end the genocide in Darfur, would you ask me to get more involved with giving women equal rights in Afghanistan? And what do you want me to do? You want me to be Superman and solve all the problems on the world? Okay, I can't. God put me on this planet to help his animals and speak for them. I do not exploit and harm animals in any way, shape, or form. Therefore, I have every right to ask you to stop harming animals in every way, shape, or form. It's that simple. And we can talk about the genocide in Darfur all we want. The reason why I don't talk about it is because we can't do a damn thing about it. Talk, talk, talk. I'm tired of people talking a good game. This injustice you can do something about every day. 3 times a day you can stand up and say, I am opposed to injustice. I'm opposed to oppression and slavery. I'm not going to support the killing, the torture, and the murder of innocent beings anymore. Veganism is the only thing that you can do every day on this planet to make a difference. And it's that simple. Next question.
That's the last question. Hey, you talk a lot about compassion towards animals, but there is a group called the fruitarians, people that believe that fruits have feelings, and they don't eat them as a growing group. And my first question is, where do you draw the line? Because if a fruit, you don't compassion fruits, but like mosquitoes, if you kill a mosquito or a medusa who doesn't have a system, a jellyfish, and where do you draw the line? And the second
Wait, no, first, let me just do the first one first. Are you the founder of People for the Ethical Treatment of Apples? In Defense of Broccoli? Last Chance for Potatoes? The Humane Society for Corn? Okay, listen, I draw the line at sentience. If you can feel, you can suffer. Carrots, under no circumstances, can feel pain and can suffer. cannot happen. Now, if for whatever reason, I like the fruitarians, in fact, I can see myself being a fruitarian one day. It's not because carrots are suffering. It's because in the Garden of Eden, the Garden of Eden, that vegan haven, God's most perfect state, they were fruitarians. And I'd like to get back to the garden. But if for whatever reason it bothers you to pull carrots out of the ground, you can be a fruitarian. Either way, you still got to be vegan. But let's not bring up the feeling. It's always amazing to me when I hear the question about plant suffering, because I come into a classroom where nobody understands cow suffering and pig suffering and chicken suffering, and all of a sudden, people want to be nice to carrots. How the fuck did that happen? It's amazing. You can't, I'm trying to get you to be nice to cows, and all of a sudden, look at that poor broccoli field. Oh my God, it's a Holocaust to broccoli. Draw the line at sentience, okay? Include the animals and the insects. And for the record, I'm not an absolutist. You brought up mosquitoes. Listen, if you are being attacked by an insect, by an animal, or by a human being, you have a right to bodily integrity. You have a right to defend yourself if you are being attacked. But cows do not attack. One time in the history, name it, when cows have attacked us. Now, we attack them, and for that reason alone, the murderers cannot be more important than the murdered. The oppressor cannot be more important than the oppressed. This is about the victims. So let's open up our circles of compassion, logically and simply, and go vegan. No more excuses. For the victims, for kindness, for justice. I want to thank everybody for listening. You guys are awesome.
תודה רבה לגארי